Tonight we're going to make pan-seared scallops over lemon Buerre Blanc, where we're going to use our sea scallops. You want to get a fairly large sea scallop, 10 to 20 count, or you can get a U12, U10, which are very large scallops. Scallops come in a variety of different ways. You have sea scallops, which come either wet or dry. These are dry scallops, which means nothing is added to them. Wet sea scallops are injected with a solution which, if they're not cooked right away, will give you a metallic, tinny taste, and when you cook them they'll shrink up dramatically. Bay scallops are small scallops, and they're nice used in dishes where you're going to use them in a stuffing, or they can be sauteed and served, but they're a much smaller type scallop. Sea scallops can be pan-seared, they can be broiled, they can be baked. When you get the scallops, if you look on the side of the scallop, you'll find that there's a little muscle which is very, very tough, which is where the scallop attaches to the shell, and you want to pull that off because you don't want to have that toughness. You'll find most of the scallops, sometimes it's a little hard to find on the side, but almost every scallop will have it. Once in a while, when you get the scallops, sometimes the muscle will be pulled off. Scallops come in a shell that, if you're familiar with a Shell gas station, that shell is a scallop shell. They don't close very tightly. You don't see it that much in this country, but in Europe you will see scallops in the shells. They're very, very easy to open, and they also have a roe which they use for making sauces. While we were taking the muscle off the scallops, I've taken a pan, lightly sprayed it with Pam, and I have this pan heating up to a high dish. We're going to take and salt our scallops, and I like to use white pepper because it doesn't give dark spots on the scallops which look like dirt. And we're going to put these in our hot pan. You can hear a little bit of a sizzle as we put these in. You don't want to crowd them because you want them to brown. Again, just like when you're browning meat, you don't want it to boil. You want it to sear. Now what I put in here is just about 1 serving, which is half a pound of scallops. And we'll take a little bit of salt on the other side. And sprinkle just a little bit of white pepper. I have a sizzle plate here that we will put the scallops on after they've browned to warm in the oven. So it takes about 3 or 4 minutes for the scallops to brown. You want them to be opaque when they're fully cooked, but you don't want them to be rubbery. And they're almost there. Our scallops are nicely browned. We're going to give them a turn. And you can see that they're nicely colored on the turn side. And we're just going to let them cook for about 2 minutes on the other side. Okay, we want to be careful that we don't overcook these, and we're going to transfer them to a pan we're going to put in the oven just to keep them warm while we make our Buerre Blanc sauce. So this part of it is finished, and we will make the sauce while we're keeping the scallops warm. We're going to make a lemon Buerre Blanc sauce to go underneath the pan-seared scallops. We're going to start off with 3/4 of a tablespoon to a tablespoon of chopped shallots, a teaspoon of a very good quality white wine, champagne or fancy white wine vinegar, approximately a tablespoon of heavy cream, a tablespoon of lemon juice, some fresh cracked salt, white pepper, and 1/2 pound of very cold butter. This sauce could be made in a non-reactive stainless steel pan. It could either be a saucepan or a saute pan. Very frequently it's done in a saute pan. We're going to take our shallots, put them in the pan, turn our heat on to high. We're going to let the shallots cook for about a minute, just until they release their aroma. We don't want them to brown or color, we just want them to release their aroma. Now, just start to smell them over the high heat. We're going to take our white wine and vinegar, and we're going to bring it to a boil, let it reduce to what they call au sec, which is almost dry. Now, having done this every day for the last 20 years in the restaurant, I'm used to doing this over high heat. In a culinary school, they'll have you make this in a saute pan, and after the pan is very, very hot, they will tell you to turn off the heat, add the butter, and just float the butter around the pan until it melts. You're trying to get a very, very creamy sauce. The most important thing, and you do have the ability to move the pan off the heat, we want to keep the heat down under 130 degrees. If you heat this up over 130 degrees with the butter will melt and separate, and you will have a greasy sauce. So as soon as this is almost dry, we will add our 1 tablespoon of heavy cream, and that's to stabilize the sauce. Now, I'm not going to stir this with a whisk. I'm going to stir this with a wooden spoon so I get no reaction with the sauce. And if you look at this, we're almost dry with our reduction. This is very similar to what you would do with tarragon and shallots if you were going to make a Béarnaise sauce. You don't cook it quite down this much. And there we go. We're almost dry. We're going to add our heavy cream. And we're going to start off by adding 2 cubes of butter. We'll turn our heat down to a medium and get the butter going. We want to keep this so the butter doesn't separate. Now, when I would do this in the restaurant, I would usually do this with a bigger slab of butter, because I would buy 1-pound blocks of butter rather than the sticks usually found in the grocery store. Now, before this butter is completely melted, we're going to add another piece of butter. Now, if you keep adding the ice cold butter, this will keep your pan cool enough that your butter doesn't break. Now, you can vary the amount that you make on the sauce. I'm making quite a bit for tonight. This is a sauce, though, once it's made, you either have to use it immediately or keep it over in a bowl or some sort of a pan on warm water at 120 degrees so it doesn't break. The sauce cannot be reheated, so that once it breaks, you're done. You have to start all over from the very beginning. And I have to tell you, in running a restaurant, you didn't want to have to start all over from the beginning on a Friday or Saturday night, and the orders started coming in. If you notice, we've got what almost looks like a really nice creamy sauce. And keep stirring that and add more cold butter. And this is going to make about a cup of sauce when we're all done with this. But you have to constantly stir it. Now, I'm used to doing this over a higher heat. You might want to turn the heat down to a medium or low. Take a little more time in doing this. We used to make this 1 pound or 2 pounds at a time, and I found a way to keep it warm on the steam table so that it would stay warm for a couple of hours. And we'd use this sauce on different fish dishes, but we did an awful lot of pan-seared scallops. And you notice the butter's melting pretty quickly. And the sauce is nice and creamy. What we're looking for, and I'll show this to you after we've strained the sauce, we're looking for a nappe consistency. And I'll pour some on a plate just to show you what nappe is and what you want for the consistency of a perfect sauce. Most French sauces are not like a gravy. They're not thick, but they're sauces. And finally, this is our last 2 pieces of butter. This should go very quickly. And you notice that we haven't been very lucky that the sauce hasn't broken. And we're getting it to melt into a nice creamy sauce. We're going to strain this, and then we're going to add a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. And an experiment you can try at home is to use fresh lemon juice, or you can get your bottled lemon juice and see what the difference is. The bottled lemon juice to me seems to have a little bit of an aftertaste that I don't like. Okay, we don't want this to get any hotter. It appears that all our butter is melted, and now we're going to strain it. I have a container here, and we're just going to pour this into our container. If I were in the restaurant, I'd be doing this into a plastic 6th hotel pan. Now, at this point, we're going to add our lemon juice, a little bit of fresh salt, and some white pepper. Give this a little bit of a stir. Now I have a plate here. The nappe means that when you pour this onto a plate, it just sits there. It doesn't roll around the plate. It doesn't have shoulders, yet when you move the plate around, it slides freely around the plate, but it just sits there with no shoulders. And this gives you a perfect nappe sauce. Our sauce is done. I'm planning on doing fresh broccoli, mashed sweet potatoes. I put the sauce on the plate because I like to have the sauce underneath the product. If I spend an awful lot of time trying to make my scallops look good and pan-searing them, I don't want to cover them up with a sauce. Very often if you go to a restaurant and they cover up your product with the sauce, good chance the product was spoiled to begin with, and they just don't want you to taste the actual product. I'm going to take a little chopped parsley over the top, and there you have it.